Hey there, Gemini Ascendant. So this is your forecast taking you from the new moon in Virgo on the 23rd of August right the way through to the full moon in Pisces on the 7th of September. Now, this is the total lunar eclipse. So it's a big full moon in Pisces. This, to me, this 2 weeks is like the gateway to the eclipse. We've got the new moon, which is a very powerful one because it's the first of two new moons in the sign of Virgo, which is going to be really emphasizing your home and your family and your roots. So this new moon is opening up a new pathway for your family and your home and your roots. And in between both of these Virgo new moons, we've got the total lunar eclipse. That's our first eclipse. And then the second eclipse is that second new moon. Now, this is such an important time because for you, Gemini Ascendant, this is affecting you from the home but up to the career. So there's a lot to take on board. Moreover, your ruling planet, which is Mercury, is changing signs, as is Venus and also Saturn in this 2 weeks. So there's a lot going on. So what I'm going to be doing is looking at this through the perspective of the Virgo new moon, which is all about purity, sanctity, space, perfection, bringing everything back to life. It's holistic, it's healthy, it's about making things work in a deep way, and it's really sacred. And then we've got the emotional, psychic, intuition energy of the full moon total lunar eclipse in Pisces. So this is like a sacred vision as far as I can see. So if you're new to this channel, my name's Louisa. Hi, welcome to Feel Good Astrology. Hope you like it. And what I'm going to be doing is describing a lot of the energy between these two dates in quite a lot of detail, but not too heavy on the planets, but more heavy on the meaning and what that might mean for you. I use questions. In fact, I'll show you the questions just to steady myself. So the 3 questions I'm asking throughout this forecast, and hopefully will answer by the time we get to the end of it, is where in my life am I idealizing or polishing instead of healing the roots? And I think that's really pertinent because this new moon, which is all about the purification, is happening in your roots at the place of your home and your family. And then halfway through this 2 weeks, around about the 31st of August and the 1st of September, I'm really asking what old wounds may flare up, and how can you respond with compassion to yourself? Compassion, I think, is an important one because that's bringing in the energy of the full moon in Pisces. And then as we're coming into the full moon in Pisces, it's a time when there's a flood of emotions. It's like an ocean of emotion. You know, we can go 2 ways on this. We could get overwhelmed because there's just so much coming at us. We just don't know where to start. Or we can be channeling these waves of psychic energy and inspiring ourselves and using that as an inspiration. So I really think that this is, about purification, breakthrough and inspiration. And to put it into an easier sentence, I've said, how can you clear the vessel, let the cracks appear, and then be filled with divine waters? So, you're clearing your vessel. That could be your body, your mind, your heart, your soul, your mind-body system, your car, your bedroom. And of course, once we clear it, we actually get to see the quality of our vessel. We might get to see where the cracks are, where it's a bit worn, where we need to do a bit of repair work. And then once we've done it, we can fill it with all that nice energy. So that's how I see this working. Before I go any further, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone that supports this channel, because without you, this would be a very different place. And thank you to people who are regularly supporting me with membership. I really, truly appreciate you. Thank you so much. And these are the 2 different charts that I'm going to be looking at. So this is the new moon in Virgo one from a Gemini perspective. And you can see the new moon down there in the 4th house to do with home. And then the other chart will have the moon up here. And this is where the full moon, the total lunar eclipse, is taking place on the 7th of September. Now, before I get going on the actual charts, I just want to add in that if you these forecasts are created using a Western tropical whole sign methodology or model. And what I mean by that is I'm using one sign in every house. So these sections are all known as houses. So you've got your first, your second, your third, fourth, fifth, sixth, right the way through to the 12th. Now, if, like me, and when I look at my chart, I've always got 2 signs in my first house. So the first house is like this area here. And you know, if I was to do my version of this, I would have Gemini here and Cancer in the same. For me, it'd be Scorpio and Sagittarius, but I'm looking at it from your perspective. So if when you look at your birth chart, you see that you've also got Cancer in your first house, then also listen to that one, because that's also very helpful in understanding some of the energies that are coming up for you. Anyway, so these are the, you know, this is, you know, a lot of the astrological details that are happening over this week. You'll see I've highlighted these 2, the 26th to the 31st. To me, this is when the energy gets really whizzy and there's a lot going on. For instance, we've got Venus in a lovely trine with Saturn and Neptune. That, to me, that's helping us grow our dreams and also really feel into the love and the connection and the connections we want to make stronger. So to me, that's really helpful if you're somebody with long-term aims. Venus will also be in a sextile with Uranus on that day. Again, that's really helping our dreams and our good, you know, the good that we're working for, manifest so much faster. It's bringing in the kind of consciousness that we might need to be able to attract everything that we're looking for. And then this is a very powerful day. This is when I think we're sort of breaking through and maybe seeing the cracks. This is when Mercury makes a trine to Chiron. So Mercury's here by this point. There he is there. There he is. And he's going to be in a trine to Chiron. And to me, Mercury and Chiron in a trine, to me, this is our ability to know what's going on, you know, to listen to our body talking to us, to listen to our unconscious mind talking about us. Chiron is always showing us maybe where we're a bit raw, where we've got some insecurities and where things are a little bit difficult to process. And, you know, with Mercury working with Chiron, we get that message loud and clear. Now, one of the things that I do want to talk about, you know, and I have spoken about the new moon in Virgo quite a lot of times in earlier episodes. So if you are new to this channel, you might also choose to listen to my new moon in Virgo forecast, which gives a really good snapshot. And it also breaks it down. So you can listen to the Gemini forecast for that. But this new moon in Virgo, you know, Virgo is often about health and feeling good in your body. And it's very practical. It's about getting everything working very well. And like here, and the 4th house is predominantly about your roots and where you're sort of grounded. And so the home is a perfect place for you to be grounded in, and your family that you have around you. But it's also very much like being in your body, because your body is also your home. It's the home for your soul or your spirit, however you know, that's how I feel it is anyway. And so this new moon could be creating a different relationship with your home or a different relationship with your body. And one of the things that I would really recommend you doing, especially seeing as Uranus is in an exact square pretty much to this new moon, is to recognize the psychic ability that you have with your body, to really connect in with that home of yours. And if you notice when you're going about your day, so you might want to slow down a little bit over this next 2 weeks. Like, it really is the gateway to the eclipses. It really is a strong time. It really is bringing in a sacred vision and helping you to move beyond the ordinary. And also, I want to say to expect miracles, like in particular around the 28th, we've got Neptune and Uranus in an exact sextile. Now, the last time these two were in an exact sextile was in 1968. So it's a really, really long time ago. And so, you know, this is a very magical time. And the more you are tuning into your intuition and into your instincts and into a high level of consciousness or a different and altered level of consciousness, the more I think you can hear your body, you can tune into your home, into your garden, to your pets, to everyone, really. And so, and especially at home, you know, this is where all your groundedness is. So if I was in your shoes, I think I would be talking to my body a little bit. You know, if I'm thinking about my problems or thinking about what I need to change in my life or thinking about what's happening or what I'm having for tea or whatever it is, I'm going to notice what's going on in my body. I want to take notice and notice where you're feeling a little bit edgy, a little bit stiff, where things might need to change a little bit. For you, this new moon is suggesting that there's a new start that's necessary in your home. You see, this is the first new moon in Virgo, and on the 21st of September, there's going to be another one, only it's going to be an eclipse. And so whatever you're starting here, I want to say it gets finished here, but it doesn't, because eclipses really move you for another, well, until the next eclipse comes along. And that won't be until, I think, March of next year, off the top of my head. It'll be around springtime. So, you know, this new moon that we're in right now on the 23rd of August is setting you on the path that you're going to make a more conscious decision on around the 21st of September. So it feels really important. They've both got the same theme, and it's something to do with how you feel at home, that sense that you're in the right home, that you're balanced, you're grounded, you're supported. This is, I think, a real big thing. You know, do you feel like there's support with your family? Do you feel like you are a good support to them? And what do you need to change to make that work better? To me, this is an opportunity for every member of your family to get on better, you know, for you to do more together or less according to how well it's going. It might be that you need to use your home in a different way. You know, maybe you work from home and you need more space for your work. Maybe there's new people coming into your home. You know, to me, this is signifying that there are changes coming up in the realm of the home. So this is significant. And it's not just Uranus that's like bringing in this change of consciousness. There's also this yod between Saturn and Neptune, and also Pluto, really bringing these outside factors and sort of pointing it right at this new moon, right at you, right at your heart, right at the home. So it feels like, you know, whether you want to make change or not, it feels like there's a new consciousness. There are outside influences from maybe friends and networks. There's also outside influences when you're looking at what's going on in the world. It might be worrying you, or, you know, you might have spiritual beliefs that are also impacting how you live. And to me, it's bringing it all back to you, back to your home, back to how you're feeling grounded, suggesting a big change. Now, as you're going through this 2 weeks, the next position, like the next big position of the moon, actually, let's go here to the critical point, like this breaking point, this breakthrough. And that would be, I don't actually have the chart for that, but it would be when the moon is just here, going through the sign of Sagittarius. So during that time, Mercury is going into a trine with Chiron, and I mentioned it at the start, but Mercury in the sign of Leo in your third house, going up to Chiron in the 11th, is suggesting healing from wounds, I would say, to do with bullying, to do with things, difficulties with friends, difficulties with networks, maybe feeling that you're not surrounded by the right people, maybe that you haven't got the right support from people, you've been betrayed. Like Chiron going through this part of the chart can really show where people let you down, and where maybe you haven't had a fair break. And to me, you know, this is setting you up for a healing to come through. So, you know, I mean, I don't know what it is that you've experienced in your own life, but Chiron often shows us where our emotions and our insecurities have been sort of held in our body, you know, they've got trapped in our body, you know, and they manifest as dis-eases, you know, where we get a bit sore, we get a bit crooked, and you can often tell by somebody's posture as to whether they're really, you know, they're bothered, they're burdened by the world. And so, yeah, I do think there's stuff to do with the friendships around you and how supported they've been that's going to be impacting this. And so to me, this is a breakthrough point. And interestingly enough, at this breakthrough point, the moon is in the 7th house, which has a lot to do with friendships and partners. You know, maybe it's the friends of your partner, or friends of your children. To me, it just feels like there's your family and your community, your partner and friends, and how they all interact together. Maybe there's something that's not quite working in the way that you'd have hoped for. But as we're coming up to the time of the full moon, which is here, you'll see that there's a lot of emphasis in the 10th house. Now, the 10th house is all about your career, and it's about you raising your game, standing taller, feeling like your status is on the rise. It's really strong, and it's in a very close conjunction to the North Node. And here's the thing, the North Node is actually moving you over the next 18 months. You're just over a third of the way through now. It's moving you towards a greater level of status in your life and a greater sense of knowing that you're on the right track. And so I do think you're on the right track, and maybe you're getting ready to make a few little tweaks. But this particular full moon is likely to really like turn the handle a little bit. Or you know, adjust the volume control, or you know, recalibrate the distance that the direction you're heading into. It's honing in on what it is that you really want to create for yourself. And so I really think that whatever you're wanting to change at home about your life is also going to have a knock-on effect in terms of your career. And they really are going hand in hand. And you might find actually that the career, the sort of drama and the theme and the uprush of energy in your career around the 7th of September is actually taking you out of your other focus, which is getting your home right. So it's important to make sure that this isn't a huge distraction, taking you off your very good work in tuning into yourself, tuning into the needs of your family, tuning into the needs of your body, and tuning into the needs of your home. So this is quite a big place to have this first eclipse, and then to have the second one, which will be coming up when I do the next series of forecasts in 2 weeks' time. This is really changing the way, you know, the direction that your life is heading into. And, you know, like other signs have got them across different parallels. But I would say that the 1st and the 7th and the 10th and the 4th house, like you've got, they are the most important eclipses to be happening, you know, right now out of all the signs. It's really important on your journey, because it's showing you where there's a really big shift, where there's a big change, where you're rerouting in quite a significant way. So it's very important. And, you know, over the next 8 months, 9 months until the next eclipse comes in, you know, it's going to feel very, very much like you're on a strong new pathway. So yes, it's kind of interesting. Is it, hang on, September, so October, November, December, January, February, March, no, 7 months, six months. Yeah, that's right. Of course it's not 8 or 9 months, is it? I was just thinking we were back in June for some reason. So yeah, in the next 6 months, you're going to get the next series of eclipses. Now, the next thing I think is important to also bear in mind is this huge bit of energy here around the time of the full moon, because it's likely to make everything around the full moon so much more activated, dramatic, given that it's in your 10th house. It's also a place where you're very, very public. And so if you've got something really important going on around the 7th, you might want to make sure that you're not putting yourself in any risk at all, that you're not doing anything that could upset your career, that could give you a bad reputation. Because the moon, you know, the full moon in the 10th house does make us highly emotional and highly visible. In Pisces, it makes it even more so. And then in an eclipsed position, it really does create a change. Now, if you're planning to be highly visible and you're doing something artistic and creative, this is a really great energy to be courting around the time of the 7th. This is a time to launch something in an amazing way. But if you're feeling sad and emotional and downtrodden and resentful, or you've got a whole mix of weird emotions about your job and how, you know, it's not working for you, you might find that you are visibly seen getting emotional about it, and that could be a little harmful. So just be aware that this is a very big place for your full moon eclipse to take place around the 7th. So it's worth just, you know, creating the right environment for you to ensure that you're flowing. Remember, you've also got Uranus, which I know I've spoken about. You know, Uranus is in your 1st house right now, and Uranus is bringing up surprises. You know, it brings in lots of surprises and synchronicities and a sudden change in the way you're doing things. But I think early on, when you're getting used to this energy in your 1st house, coupled with the fact that, you know, there's a full moon eclipse in your 10th house, that can make for some very, very visible and sudden changes where you feel like there's nothing else you can do but to freak out or to make a snap decision that could really change the flow of where you're going. So I do think it's a time for decision making, but I would advise that you make the decisions when you're a bit calmer, cooler, and when you've got time to reflect, because the overall pattern of this new moon happening here and then a month later on the 21st, the new moon here, that's the 21st of September, you know, ultimately you are also trying to find a place of peace. Now, if it's helpful, I would remind you of what was going on in your life around 18, 19 years ago, closer to the 19-year mark, because back then, that would be the last time you had the North Node going through this part of your chart and the South Node going through this part of your chart. So you would have been noticing changes between your home and your career. So for instance, you know, sometimes we have to move with our career and obviously it moves our home, or we move and then we find a job nearby, you know. So it can be a time when they're both working hand in hand, but they are moving you in a significant way. So, I think I'm going to go back to the original questions now. There are other things like Saturn is going retrograde into Pisces, but I've actually recorded a separate video about that. And if you're interested in finding out about Saturn in Pisces for your sign, then just keep listening at the end of this video, because there'll be a link taking you straight there. So let's go back to these questions. So, where in my life am I idealizing or polishing instead of healing the root? Well, the Virgo place for you is your 4th house. And I often find that with a fourth house in Virgo, to me, it implies that this is a place that is very organized, like deathly organized, like everything has to go where it goes. Probably lots of healing protocols going on in there, preferably a garden, and some nice books that you can look up information. It's also a place to sort of connect intellectually. It has to be a place where you feel like you can connect, not necessarily in a, well, you are a Gemini like rising as well. So a place where you can connect at home, I think is really helpful. But to me, it feels like a place where a lot of it is up here rather than down in the body. You know, especially with Mercury coming through here during this time, it could be a time when you're really thinking about things, but not really allowing your body to do the processing. So you might find that you've been managing your home and your family in terms of looking at schedules and diaries and saying, okay, I've got to get this person here, and then this cat has got to go to the vet, and then we've got this, and it's a 3-monthly checkup, and blah, blah, blah. And it's, and you know, sometimes it's not really feeling like a home. It feels like a business. It feels like, it feels like you're running your home like a corporation, because it needs to be organized. And I understand that for sure. But what you might find during this time is you want to get much deeper to the root of why you want it to be so organized, or why it has to work as it does. And I think that's the whole purpose of this particular new moon taking place here, and then the second new moon up here, because to me this is about creating a stronger level of security, one that doesn't rely on you saying, okay, this has to happen, and and to really lead from the front. To me, this is about creating a sense of understanding between people where the minds are really, really connecting. So it takes a bit of time. It's time to slow down a little bit, and to come back into the family and come back into the conversation rather than the organization. So I do think there's something much deeper at the root. There's a need to connect a lot more. And, you know, Uranus is really pushing from the front. To me, it also feels like you're wanting to experience a change. And I don't think you can do that with just being organized alone. You're needing more than that. So it's a change of consciousness that this is heading you towards. What old wounds may flare, and how can I respond with compassion rather than compulsion? Well, you know, at the end here we've got, and I do think this is coming into it. You know, we've got Jupiter and Jupiter coming into a square with Chiron throughout this, like really from about here, you'll see this coming in, and also Jupiter having a square with Mars. And you've got Mars is in an interesting place actually, because Mars starts off in an opposition to Saturn and Neptune. It's very, very spiky, really suggesting that you're wanting to do something a lot more creative right now, and probably not to be so organized at home, but to have a different feeling so that you've got more energy for your creative pursuits. But it feels like every time you go and you're wanting to go off and do things in your own way, there are pressures coming from bosses, stakeholders, clients, friends, expectations of other people, and it feels it's very difficult, like, to get that balance right. By the time this eclipse comes, you're still really wanting to do things more in your own way, and yet you're feeling that money is an issue. And like, am I smart enough? Am I clever enough? Am I liked enough? Am I deserving enough to be able to bring enough in so that I can do what I want to do and enjoy myself and feel very passionate? But Mars is in opposition to Chiron. To me, this is an indication that you're feeling a little bit, possibly a bit lonely, possibly a bit cut off from people that could be supportive. Maybe you're wanting support to do things in your own way, and yet it just feels that it's scuppered at every step of the way. It just feels like it's difficult. So I really do get that there's this conflict between home and family and feeling grounded and needing to drive it, whilst also feeling this need to be very individual, to get a lot more passionate and a lot more creative, and also for there to be a big shift in terms of the way you work. And it's hard to just manage all of those at the same time. I want to just go back to the fact that, you know, Uranus and Neptune are exactly in a sextile for the first time for years and years and years. This is a time to expect miracles, and with Uranus in your first house, like, shift is almost guaranteed. So to me, this is one of the first moments that you're getting to demonstrate the changes you're going through because of Uranus. And so to me, this is why this is such an important time. So to conclude then, how can I turn the flood of emotions into an inspiration so I don't get overwhelmed? So around the time of the full moon, if I was in your shoes, especially seeing as it's coming into this area of career, I think maybe it's time to maybe journal or do something creative and talk to yourself or coach yourself about what it is you want to do and who you are becoming. Maybe start from this place of becoming, you know, to feel into the changes that you've been experiencing. And obviously I don't know what they are or how they've been affecting you, but whatever it feels is the important change. What might that mean? What might that person do? How might that person live? How might that person love? How might they earn money? How might they spend the rest of their days? If you're thinking about something that's going to match the changes you're going through, I think that's the right way to do it, because otherwise your job is really detailing who you're becoming, and I think it's the other way around for sure. So I think around the time of this new moon, getting into a conversation with yourself about who you're becoming, you know, whenever if you're going for a walk, if you're walking the dog, if you're having a shower, having a bath, washing up, it's my favorite time. You know, when you're doing these things and you're kind of minding your own business, start talking to yourself, you know, wonder, like, how might I best express what I'm feeling right now? And again, that goes back to my original comments about getting back into your body so that you can really feel what feels in alignment with you and what really doesn't feel right. And then you can ask your body why. So this is about the alignment in the body, the real sort of Virgo energy about like feeling fundamentally right. And I think if you can tune into who you're becoming, you'll know the next piece of creative work to take. You know, I really think you'll get the vision of who you are, and then you can start thinking about little outcomes along the way, things you might want to achieve. And I think in doing that, you'll be channeling this very, very strong full moon energy, this eclipse energy, rather than being swarmed with all of these massive emotions on the 7th of September. So I hope that was helpful for you, Gemini, in understanding that. If you have found it, oh, I realise I haven't put the I realise I haven't put this screen up. I've been whizzing through this screen the whole time talking about it. I'll have to put this in after. My apologies. But if you found that useful and you like the way I'm talking to you, if you feel like the level of support that I'm giving you is helpful, then you might consider membership. You know, in membership, that's where I put even my deeper channelings and readings. You know, I do a Monday to Friday forecast. I also do romance and financial forecast every 2 weeks for every sign of the zodiac, plus loads of extras if you're in the full forecast. The full membership. If you'd like me to deep dive into your own chart, given that you've got Uranus in your first house, it's a pretty big time, then just book yourself into my diary. If you go to the description box below this video or into the description of my channel, it will give you all the links so that you can book directly into my Calendly, that's my diary, and invite me to work with you. It's as simple as that. I'd love to work with you. So have a great time. And hopefully this is really going to transform you in... It's almost like this is the first step of this new you that's coming in with Uranus in your first house. So lots of love to you, wishing you very well. And if you did want to see Saturn going into Pisces over the next 5 months, then check out this next video that's coming up. Bye for now.